You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for February 3rd, 2026. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we unwrap the legacy media's favorite maxims and find nothing but old bones and owl poop inside. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. Are you a vicious, thick-headed simp who couldn't get a job handing out chips and pico samples at Taco Bell? So you signed up with ICE instead, where they gave you a mask and a gun and a big bag of cash, and now you're filmed everywhere you go and get whistled and cussed out at every respectable eating establishment in the greater metropolitan area of Minneapolis, St. Paul? Well, hero, do we have an alternative meal option for you?
Yes, for a limited time, we're bringing back one of our older sponsors whose service area has now been expanded to include the state of Minnesota. Please welcome back Hello Fascist, the at-home meal kit for Republicans. Of course, since the masked goons, ICE thugs, have no home, we've had to adapt our traditional Washington-based Hello Fascist at-home meal delivery system to the local market. So instead of Republican senators and Supreme Court justices and assistant deputy chief of staffs having their valets or pool boys or mistresses place discreet calls to our Washington, D.C. headquarters, we are directing all ICE goons to call our Minnesota hotline.
Within the hour, one of our Hello Fascist brand ambassadors will meet you over on that street near that thing across from that place to deliver a fresh home-cooked meals with no planning, no shopping, and no one calling you out for your moral depravity in public. Just listen to these testimonials.
David B. of Bethesda, Maryland says, waiters hate me because I am a privileged oaf who used social media to collectively insult their profession for not being sufficiently awestruck by my awesomeness. I lived in dread that they may be secretly organizing a national day of urine to pee in my food wherever I go. But now with Hello Fascist, I can stuff my face and insult the working class without fear.
S. Miller of Washington, D.C. says he was sick and tired of MS-13 gangs peeing in his Cobb salad. I know that's not vinaigrette, Pedro. So thank God for Hello Fascist. It's like a big, beautiful wall around my tiramisu.
And Brett K., also of Washington, D.C., says, the beer was as cold as Samuel Alito's heart and as delicious as the tears of terrified liberals. Hello, Fascist, because those people are definitely peeing in your food. And now, Literature Corner with the Professional Left.
Welcome to Literature Corner. So, Blue Gal, did you ever read a short story by a guy named William Faulkner called A Rose for Emily?
A Rose for Emily. No, I don't think I've read that, but I'll bet you're going to spoil it for us, aren't you, Driftglass?
Yes, I'm going to spoil it for everyone.
I knew it. I knew it.
But first of all, I'm doing it for the noblest of reasons. And second, it was first published in 1930 and has been included on great literature collections and anthologies dozens of times. So if anyone hasn't read it, it's kind of on them, Blue Gal.
Okay. If you haven't read it from 1930,
yeah,
all right. You can go ahead and proceed. I'll allow it.
Yeah. It's a famous story, okay?
Okay.
If you didn't read it, really, your problem. First and foremost, this story is an excellent, creepy Southern Gothic horror story, which we had to read in a freshman comp class centuries ago, I'm sure, because of the style in which it was written specifically. Faulkner didn't use the first-person I, which is pretty typical, or the omniscient narrator third person, or even the traditional second-person you perspective, all of which are pretty normal for short stories. Yes, this is everyone's writing lesson today, so you should be taking notes. It's written in this relatively rare first-person plural form, acting as with the town acting as a collective town gossip point of view. The narrator in A Rose for Emily represents the community of Jefferson, Mississippi, and uses our and we to create a very intimate yet very judgmental account of Emily's life. Big parts of Thornton Wilder's play Our Town, if you're familiar with that, are written this way, along with several Greek tragedies.
So it's got kind of a chorus speaking as the narrator.
Exactly. That is the narrator. It's the town is speaking on behalf of the story and telling you what happened. And here's a plot summary I jotted down just for you, Blue Gal, so I don't have to do all the talking.
You wrote this down for me to read.
Here, read this. Just read it, okay?
Emily Grierson is a reclusive, shut-in woman living in a decaying old house in a southern town. After her domineering father dies, Emily can't really let go. She even refuses to admit he's dead for a few days. The townspeople mostly leave her alone out of habit and pity. Even when she starts dating Homer Barron, a loud, outgoing guy from the north. People gossip and assume that he'll marry her, but then one day, he just disappears.
Yep.
Which is right around the time that Emily buys poison and becomes even more withdrawn.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, a bad smell starts coming from Emily's house. Instead of confronting her directly, a group of town officials sneak onto her property at night and shovel lime around the foundation and in the cellar to deal with the odor. They must think it's some sort of sewer leak or something.
Or dead rats or something. Maybe she's poisoning rats in her house. Maybe that was the reason.
But they put lime around the foundation in her basement. They never explain it to her, and she never acknowledges it. Years later, when Emily finally dies, the town goes through her house and opens a locked bedroom that no one's seen for decades. Inside, they find Homer's rotting body in the bed. Emily had poisoned him and kept him there all those years. Even creepier, there's a single gray hair on the pillow next to him, indicating that Emily had been sleeping beside the corpse all these years. Ew.
Yeah, it's a hell of a story.
The story ends with the town realizing that while Emily was clearly disturbed, they also played a role in letting her live in denial and isolation for so long. Oh.
Yeah, denial and isolation. Yeah. So I'm going to bet that you can guess where this is going.
Yeah, I kind of get it. I get the connection to a lot of things that we've been talking about on this podcast over the years.
Thus ends Literary Corner. Instead, we're going to pivot over to the inimitable Digby. If you haven't been reading Digby, then you've been missing out. Quote, "The Republican tribe has worked for decades on two separate tracks. They know that their real philosophy and agenda is repellent to the majority of Americans, so they all agree to keep it more or less under wraps at election time. But they do have to prove to each other that they're for real, and the way to do it is through coded language and angering the left into making them look like heroes to their own tribe," unquote. And then she goes on to quote Rick Perlstein, and then there is more Digby.
More Digby, quote, "So you see, the GOP base is not really concerned with issues or even God, family, country. They are about hating liberals. You may remember the t-shirt that said, 'Fuck your feelings.'"
Right.
From the MAGA couple. That's what they're about. Many of them are about hating dark or foreign liberals in particular. We can present a 10,000-point plans and say they should vote for us because their economic interests lie with liberal policies. But it won't make a bit of difference. We can point out their hypocrisy and flip-flops, and it means nothing. Republican identity politics transcend such prosaic concerns as policy and political philosophy. It's all about whether you are one of them. If you can prove that, then they could not care less what you once stood for. The only thing that will trip you up is being insufficiently hostile to liberals once they have validated your membership. That will get you kicked to the curb in a Midland minute, unquote. Now, the fact that this is from the inimitable Digby shouldn't surprise you. But the fact that this is from Digby from February of 2007 is deeply depressing. All the way back then, this was the end of the Bush administration. What was going on inside the GOP was perfectly clear to anyone whose salary didn't depend on pretending that it wasn't happening. Also, anyone who is still pretending that all of this MAGA madness just popped spontaneously into existence in 2016, well, that's how you can tell a never Trumper, right?
Yeah, you can spot them.
You can spot them by, they go, in 2016, when this whole thing started. Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of them who just suddenly discovered it in 2020, and a few of them that are discovering it like this week.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they discover it. And so finally bringing it all back to William Faulkner, by now it should be clear to everyone that the Beltway's conventional both sides do it wisdom about American politics is both the rotting corpse the legacy media has been bedding down with for decades, and it's the stink from that corpse that they've been desperately trying to hide also for decades. Mm-hmm. This is from Parker Malloy in the New Republic, January 31st, 2026. Quote, "The media malpractice that sent America tumbling into Trumpism." Except, of course,
there's that word.
Yeah, I know. It's common parlance, but we all know that it's just republicanism in a different gown.
And a reminder to everyone to go Google, don't you dare call it Trumpism. It's a post I wrote for Crooks and Liars in the summer of 2016, well before Trump was elected.
Yep. And even back then, they were trying to separate Republicans from Trumpism.
From Trumpism, yeah.
Back to the New Republic article. Political journalists need to stop pretending they don't know what Republicans are going to do. Last April, David Brooks published a long essay in The Atlantic titled, "I Should Have Seen This Coming," in which he acknowledged that he underestimated how much conservatism had become a pure anti-liberal reaction. Jon Stewart, who spent the early weeks of the second Trump administration chiding liberals for being too quick to use the word fascism, eventually conceded on the air, "I did not think we would get this authoritarian this fast. I really didn't. I'm sorry. Who could have known? Maybe if somebody out there had yelled at me on Blue Sky about this, I would have known, but no one did, except every day in all caps." Yep. Political scientist Corey Robin, who spent years dismissing those who call MAGA fascist, admitted on an October podcast, "I was skeptical coming into the second administration that they would be able to wield the kind of power that people feared they would wield. I have since turned out to be wrong." And then there are the journalists who covered the 2024 campaign who are now looking back at their own work with what might be charitably called discomfort. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially after listening to a recent podcast that crystallized something for me. But it wasn't unknowable. It is literally the job of political journalists to know what politicians are planning to do, unquote.
And now this from David French at the New York fucking Times this past Sunday. Mm-hmm. Quote, "When I think back to the days and weeks before January 6, 2021, one thing that's clear is that many of us suffered from a failure of imagination. We knew President Trump's lies and conspiracy mongering were dangerous, but it's hard to think of a single person who predicted that a MAGA mob would storm the Capitol. Very few people anticipated the sheer scale and scope of the effort to overturn the election, or that an incredible 147 Republicans would vote not to certify Joe Biden's clear and unambiguous presidential victory. We did not realize that they would go along with something that plainly corrupt and dangerous. We must not make that mistake again," unquote.
And I must ask, we? Who the fuck is we, Mr. Dr. Reverend?
We as people who have totally erased Trump's first inaugural address.
Yeah. Well, I'm asking specifically Mr. Dr. Reverend Pastor David French. Who the fuck are you talking about? Who's this we you're talking about? And believe me, other than where it's legitimate to use this in A Rose for Emily, I'm seeing we way too much recently about people talking about, how could anybody have known? But since you believe, Mr. French, that it's imperative not to make this mistake again, and you know what? We agree with you 100%. We can think of at least one quick and easy way to minimize the possibility of making this mistake ever again. Would you like to hear it?
I would.
It's pretty simple. You broom all the hacks and trolls and relics and liars who've been wrong about everything all along the hell out of the legacy media pundit suites in every major media organization and replace them with the people who have been, mostly right all along. Just as any diner would fire any cook who consistently served up piles of meth and dog shit when the menu said bacon and eggs, and hire, someone who knows how to make bacon and eggs. Or the way any bridge building company would sack any engineer who tried to make a suspension bridge out of fluffernutter and rubber bands and a Ouija board, and replace them with someone who uses concrete and steel and sound engineering practices.
But Driftglass, that would mean sacking David French.
It would, I'm afraid. Yes. You'd have to do
Also,
something
Brett
else.
Stevens, Ross Douthat, Joe Scarborough, Peggy Noonan, Tom Friedman, Kathleen Parker, Tom Nichols, Michael Steele. And gee whiz, the list just goes on, doesn't it? I might even include David Brooks.
It might even include David. It might even include Charlie Sykes. I don't know. There's a lot of people on this list, and we've been writing about them for over 20 years now. So Susie Madrak, a friend and colleague of yours at Crooks and Liars, continues this thought. Quote, so did dirty hippie bloggers get the big picture wrong? Nope. Hardly ever. Because we're people who read deep and wide, because we believe in institutional knowledge and pattern recognition, because we examine information and we evaluate it. And speaking of some of those voices that have been crying in the wilderness for a very long time, Heather Digby Parton, the aforementioned, Atrios, Marcy Wheeler, Roy Edroso, I'm so sorry, Roy, Marcos, Media Matters, and far too many for this old broad to list off the top of her head. You may berate me in the comments, and people did. And
people did because she left off the Professional F podcast.
Yes, but I think that was no log rolling over at Crooks and Liars.
Yeah.
My point being, we spoke out when no one else would. We all agreed publicly that the new Department of Homeland Security was a fascist name with what sounded like fashy intentions. We said the entire pretext for the Iraqi invasion was fabricated when your network anchors were too fucking terrified to be seen without a flag pin. We told you the New York fucking Times swallowed garbage to set Hillary Clinton up, or that your dementia attacks on Joe Biden were bullshit. We told you, and so on. This is why we expect you to support the blogs you read, because we're the smoke detectors, kids. We make it possible for you to breathe a little bit, because we'll sound the alarm when you need to hear it. Unquote. Amen, Susie.
Yep. So what are the odds that legacy media corporations actually care enough about any of this to replace the always wrong clowns with the mostly right dirty hippies? Well, as you probably know, and as several thousand of you have called to Driftglass's attention, and thank you very much, the wrongest man in the pundit game, Mr. David Brooks of the New York fucking Times, is no longer Mr. David Brooks of the New York fucking Times. He is now Mr. David Brooks of the fucking Atlantic.
Yes, he is.
So strap in, kids, because we're going to take a look at excerpts from the Times press release on the subject of being the home of the wrongest man in the pundit game for the last 22 years. This paean to David Brooks was written by Kathleen Kingsbury, the opinion editor of the New York fucking Times. Driftglass, please proceed.
Quote, since he first joined the Times opinion in 2003, David Brooks has occupied a singular role. He is our resident cartographer of the American soul. David joined the paper at a moment of profound national upheaval. Yeah, when the Iraq war that he cheerled was going tits up. And over the course of more than 2 decades, he carved out a unique space for a brand of commentary that was as much about sociology and moral philosophy as it was about politics. Yeah, he was wrong about all of it. His columns have often served as a testing ground for ideas that would later reshape the national discourse. Both sides do it, both sides do it, both sides do it. We saw this in his advocacy for epistemological modesty following the Iraq War, and more recently, his focus on weaving the social fabric in an era of intense isolation. David's evolution as a columnist has also been one of the most visible intellectual journeys in American journalism, from where he started to where he still is. We watched him transition from a sharp social observer of the Bobos to a profound explorer of the human heart. His most iconic work, from studying the moral ecology of humans to his deep dives into the importance of character, helped shift the focus of the opinion pages from the ephemeral winds of a 24-hour news cycle, or Wines actually works as well, to the enduring eulogy values that define a life well lived.
I'm sorry, he said eulogy virtues.
Yeah.
But the deal is that whenever politics got too difficult to talk about, he'd talk about irony and modesty and big thought things.
Humility, the soul.
Humility, to avoid dealing with the fact he was wrong about Iraq. He's wrong about Minnesota. He's wrong about the Republican Party. He's been wrong all along.
Have you ever read this Jesus?
Switches gears. Yes.
Yeah. You ever read this Jesus guy? And then he'll do 9 quotes from the Bible and then talk about how both sides need to be more modest.
That's it. That's it.
And that is, I mean, seriously, that's every David Brooks column, almost without exception, for 22 fucking years. Same column.
He's not saying the Bush tax cuts should be bigger.
Yeah. Make them bigger.
Yeah. Then he's avoiding talking about the deficits that the Bush tax cuts created by talking about modesty and humility and on and on. Yeah.
And every now and then the stink from one of his columns or one of his reactions rises to the level of common notice. And people go, how the hell is this guy still working? Hasn't he been wrong about everything? Yes, he has. But the Schulzbergers don't fucking care.
Yeah.
He fills a niche.
Well, apparently it's gotten to be too much for him.
Well,
now he's just going to go work at the Atlantic.
Let us continue.
Yes.
His work has earned him a place among the most decorated observers of our time. As a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, David has made contributions that have been recognized with honors, and he's been granted over 30 honorary doctorates from American colleges and universities. That's the price of getting him to talk there. He has also written 7 major nonfiction books. Beyond his columns, David has been a tireless champion of the craft itself. Oh, God. It is because of this lifelong commitment to teaching and intellectual growth that I share the news that David will be departing the Times to join Yale University as a presidential senior fellow, unquote.
Now, that's just awful.
It is just, I'm trying to keep my dinner down at this point.
And I'm trying to find out, as we're researching this show, how could I top that?
Oh, honey.
And it turns out Tom Friedman also wrote something.
Yeah, turn to the second wrongest man in the pundit game.
Yes, and Brooks's fellow New York Times employee.
Yep.
And here's what Tom Friedman wrote. Sorry, guys. I have to share it with you. Mm-hmm. Quote, I am so sorry to hear this news, said his fellow columnist Thomas L. Friedman. I cannot imagine reading the Times and not being able to savor one of David's deep essays on politics, society, and human connection. David and I have had a running joke all these years that we almost always end up in the same place politically. Both sides do it. But we get there by totally different routes. I take a cab.
That's right.
And talk to my cab driver.
Everywhere I go.
And talk about China and the internet and jobs. Yes. Mm-hmm. We arrive at the same conclusion, both sides do it, that our future depends on building and proliferating communities built on healthy interdependencies, cemented by shared values. Low marginal tax rates for rich New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what he seriously wrote. This news really leaves me bummed. Yale's gain is our readers' loss. Unquote.
Yeah, so that was the farewell letter from the New York Times. And here's the welcoming notice from the Atlantic, the press release welcoming Mr. Brooks into their bosom. Quote, in a note to staff, the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, writes, David's work, his columns, his stories for us, and his many books have made him known and acclaimed around the world. He is, among other things, America's best pop sociologist, someone with a reporter's curiosity and a writer's grace. He is an unparalleled diagnostician of the faults and weaknesses of governments, institutions, and social structures. The forthcoming podcast will explore the moral, social, and philosophical underpinnings of human decency, with a particular focus on the role that institutions play in shaping communities and ideologies. The podcast is produced by The Atlantic and made possible by support from Yale University, which also announced today that David will be a presidential senior fellow at Yale University's School of Global Affairs, unquote. Yeah. Yep.
So in answer to our own question, no, there is no sign whatsoever that anyone in any position of authority at any Legacy Media Company has any interest in removing either the rotting corpse of the Beltway's conventional wisdom or the pundits who continue to curl up lovingly next to it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the PBS NewsHour has either temporarily or permanently replaced Brooks in their Friday Brooks and Capehart segment with some right-wing cipher named Gary Abernathy, who is, quote, the author and editor of the Abernathy Road newsletter on Substack, unquote. You know, I do wonder if Jonathan Capehart, after this, well, I don't think you can actually judge what the video shows.
Right, said Mr. Brooks.
Because Republicans say it's one thing and Democrats say it's the other, and everyone is divided right down party lines over what the video says.
It's politics. Everyone sees what they want to see.
And I can't make a judgment on it, on what my own eyes see. And then Capehart had to say, well, as a black man, I'm telling everyone to keep making videos. And maybe Capehart just said, I can't do this anymore. Get rid of him or get rid of me.
Well, they've rotated in someone worse. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But, very much like Chuck Todd was replaced David Gregory.
Yeah.
They keep replacing the person with exactly the same sort of person.
Right. The job description remains the same. You have to be a right-wing hack. Yes.
Right. And so in this case, you have to be polite and you have to say nice things about the person you're across the table from, but you have to be a right-wing hack who's willing to carry water for the worst people regime
on the planet. Yes. Yeah. And really with the Abernathy Road newsletter on Substack, the sound you hear is the bottom of the barrel being scraped. And Mr. Abernathy is making sure not to miss his shot at legacy media glory. In just one 13-minute segment, he said this, quote, I know people look at this so differently, whether you're kind of from the left or whether you're more conservative as I am. I look at this and I say, why is Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, why are they encouraging people to come out and confront law enforcement and to confront ICE agents, to confront federal agents, unquote. And I just want to insert here that federal judge this week noted in his decision that ICE has violated 96 court orders in 76 cases. They are not law enforcement.
No, they're brown shirts.
They're brown shirts. So anyone who says, I don't think Democrats should object to law enforcement. This is about law enforcement. Ask them what would happen to them personally if they violated a court order.
Mm-hmm.
And then tell them that ICE has violated 96 of them.
And then read them this stuff by Mr. Abernathy.
Oh, Mr. Abernathy, right. Quote, we were told back on January 6, 2021, how horrible it was that officers, law enforcement had been attacked on that day of that riot. And I agree with that. I am with you on that. But I'm also with you on it now. I'm saying it's terrible to confront these folks who are just trying to do their jobs to enforce the law that Congress passed. We need governors and mayors to encourage citizens to stay out of the way while they do this enforcement. Don't put yourself in harm's way, unquote. And that's just a lie.
Yeah.
These guys are going door to door.
Yeah. Using children as bait. They're going door to door.
Using children as bait, etc. This is not what he says it is. It's not.
And everyone can see it.
And everyone can see it. What it is. He's flat out misreading and lying about it. And then he said this, quote, we don't usually talk about Donald Trump as being the guy, being the voice of reason in any given stretch of time. And yet I would say this week he really has. I have been proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm often very, very critical of the way Donald Trump goes about doing things, even when I support what he's trying to accomplish. But while you've got Tim Walz and Jacob Frey and others, I think they represent the height of irresponsibility. Trump has actually been trying to lower the temperature and move the ball forward a little bit, unquote.
Bullshit.
He set them there.
Yeah. Yep.
And then he fucking lied about 5-year-old Liam Ramos, which he should just go to hell for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lied about ICE only going after the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Then he finished up with, quote, I think Don Lemon quit being a journalist a long time ago. He became an activist. He became a political activist. He's on the scene basically participating in the invasion or in the incursion into that church.
Mm-hmm.
Unquote.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, PBS.
Yeah. Saying the guy whose credential is author of the Abernathy Road Substack newsletter saying that Don Lemon's not a real journalist on PBS is just like, it's perfect. It's like they cast a parody of what a right-wing idiot would say if they got their chance to talk at PBS. Meanwhile, let's get back to Mr. David French, who just a couple of days ago on February 1st, 2026, in the New York fucking Times, was talking about how, quote, many of us, unquote, suffered a failure of imagination and how we must not make that mistake again. And be forewarned, the forthcoming will come with some sleight of hand, so keep your eyes open for professional left trickery. I'm going to trick you, so be aware I'm going to trick you. Quote, moreover, many in the media, especially me, did not understand how they would express their alienation. We expected Trump to fizzle because we were not socially intermingled with his supporters and did not listen carefully enough. For me, it's a lesson that I have to change the way I do my job if I'm going to report accurately on this country, unquote. All right, time for me to put my cards on the table. We lied to you. Specifically, I lied to you. Blue Gal didn't lie to you. I lied to you.
I didn't lie. Mm-mm.
No. It was not a bald-faced Gary Abernathy PBS type lie designed to deceive you on behalf of evil men, but it was more like the Russian poet Alexander Pushkin's idea that a deception that elevates us is dearer to us than a host of low truths. Because that was not David French in the New York Times in 2026 saying, well, I never imagined, but we must do better. That was David Brooks in the New York Times almost exactly a decade ago in 2016 saying, well, I never imagined, but I will do better.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This was after Trump had effortlessly knocked all of the GOP primary opponents out, including Marco Rubio, who Brooks said was definitely going to win. After that, Brooks made the rounds, very publicly begging to keep his job by promising to do better. Spoiler, he kept his job and he never got any better. One of his stops on his Please Don't Fire Me tour was on the eponymously named and now defunct Charlie Rose show. Now, there isn't any audio or video still extant that I could find, but I transcribed what they said at the time. So that's on me. If you want to look, you'll find it on my blog. In March of 2016, it was the March of 2016 episode of the Charlie Rose show. This is David Brooks talking, I messed up big time in not knowing Trump was coming. And so when something like that happens, you look at yourself and you think, what did I miss about America? Literally everything your party was doing, David. And I'm too much in the Acela corridor. I got to get out. That's one thing. Believe me, I travel every week, but I'm at a college here, so I'm always within the bubble. So I've got to get out. But then the other thing is, I've achieved way more career success than I ever thought I would. So it's time to take some chances on the spiritual realm, on the personal, the emotional realm. And I've got nothing to lose. So then Charlie Rose asks him, so do you think you were wrong? That you had somehow been on the Acela too much and had not done what? And let's pause here because it should surprise no one that this is how they left it. David Brooks replies, as I say, I'm out in the country every week. I'm somewhere, but I somehow didn't see it coming. I'm not alone in that. A lot of us didn't see it coming. And Charlie Rose says, oh, I don't know anybody that saw it coming. And then David Brooks says, and I noted back in 2016, he said it while smirking. Yeah, I'm sure now there are people who claim they did, but, and then Brooks just trails off because there's nothing left to say.
And this is why it's so vitally important to the legacy media's business model that they keep liberals the hell away from the microphones and cameras and op-ed pages. Because going back to the days of Nixon, and possibly before Nixon, whatever the Republican calamity of the day might be, their excuse has always been that no one could have seen it coming. And especially since the collapse of the W. Bush administration, that lie has been folded in with another lie. That somehow, someway, whatever it was liberals probably share some or most of the blame.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so much for the tolerant left. Once you disappear liberal voices from the equation, or like on the PBS NewsHour, you just mute them.
Right.
Voila, you can claim nobody saw it coming.
Right.
And since nobody saw it coming, why not just continue recycling the same trolls and hacks and liars and Joe Scarboroughs over and over again? And if their latest fuck up has damaged their reputation too badly to platform them, not to worry, as we have also learned over and over again, with the right friends in the legacy media, torching your own career needn't be a permanent condition. Think of Newt Gingrich, Michael Steele, Steve Schmidt, Matthew Dowd, or Mark Halperin. No matter how badly or repeatedly they shit the bed, the legacy media reputation rehabilitation service is always there for them because they're all members of the club. And you are not.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that Mika Brzezinski has not been able to fully rehabilitate Mark Halperin.
No, but she's gotten close a few times.
But she tried.
She got, I think, video of him doing a focus group smuggled in, audio
onto the show,
quoting him. And, you know, after he left, after he was ousted, after he was, you know where he landed shortly thereafter?
Newsmax.
Well, no, between the two.
Oh, between Newsmax and MSNBC?
And, well, he was on NBC. He was everywhere. He was all over the place. He was over at No Labels.
Oh, that's
They hired him for a shit ton of money to be like their accountant or some bullshit job they invented because Mark Halperin cannot be without a job for more than a week or I'm going to lose it. Yeah. So they found a gig for him somewhere because if you're in the club, they will fucking find a gig for you somewhere. And then he disappeared for a while longer and showed up at Newsmax, and you just know he's coming back. You just know he's coming back because they all come back. They all come back or they go on to another job at the Atlantic and get even more money for that. Now, that was all horrible. So let's do a little something uplifting from the very opposite end of the political and media spectrum. This is from listener Matt. Quote, "Hi, longtime listener here checking in from the front lines. I wanted to write and say thank you for the historical context you offer. Rush Limbaugh saying keep a few liberals alive and the traceability of armed federal agents outside my kids' school executing my neighbors and raiding daycare centers. Living through this, I have become more aware of the recent history enabling these fascist goons. I have learned what a Kavanaugh stop is. The big shitty bill giving $75 billion in funding for concentration camps and soldiers. Stephen Miller taking it all and declaring war on my city." That's exactly what happened. It's hard here. There are now 3 street memorials within 5 miles of our house. Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and George Floyd. We've been going to rallies to recharge. Last night on the frozen lake, singing with neighbors and a brass band was fun. Delivering food to our neighbors too scared to leave. Making whistle kits. Yelling at ICE agents in our local diner have all become part of life now. But this is home. When your home is under attack, there's nowhere else you can be. You treat us like Russia and we'll fight like Ukraine, with whistles and phones. If the fascists come to your town, know your rights. The ACLU has some great information. I've seen how the slightest bit of vandalism or violence will give the fascists an excuse to dismiss us. Looking for silver linings here, I've come up with a few. 1, my kids will never have to ask, what is white privilege? Damn good, Matt. Number 2, I get an uncredited assist on Bruce Springsteen's song shouting, "Ice out!" Way to go, man. Number 3, the city I love is becoming synonymous with strong, progressive, nonviolent freedom fighters. Thanks for the work you continue to do. We'll be here chopping wood and carrying water. Unquote.
Thank you for sharing that, Matt. And way to go, Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, watching the video this weekend of the mom whose 4 and 5-year-old daughters saw what was happening on the TV and said, "Mom, we have to protest." And the mom strapped these 2 little girls and did not show the girls on the video, just her face. But you could hear their voices in the back in their car seats. And she drove them around the city of Minneapolis to find a protest. And, oh, there's one. We finally found one. Come on, girls. And we're going to drive up. We're going to roll down the window. And what are we going to yell? Ice out. And they got to do that.
They did.
Mom made sure they got to do that and explained to them, yes, it's scary, but we have to do it. We have to make our voices heard.
And that's called a Minneapolis drive-by, Blue Gal.
With your 5-year-old and your 4-year-old,
Yeah.
ice out, because children have a very definite sense of what sharing and loving and being good is about.
And right and wrong.
And right and wrong. And they know what's wrong.
And when our kids saw mom crying.
Oh, over Obamacare. Yeah.
Because the Republicans wanted to take away our family's health care.
Yeah. I mean, that was the night John McCain's thumb saved our health insurance. Yeah.
And they never forgot, and they never will. And
they'll never forget that mom sat there crying.
No.
Yeah.
No, when it's your mom with you there, or grandma, or an uncle, or your brother.
It was traumatizing watching Donald Trump party in the Rose Garden with Liz Cheney and the rest of the Republican conference, because it had getting rid of Obamacare passed the House.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
It was going to go and go and go.
It was up to the Senate, and it was a 51 vote majority. It didn't need 60 votes.
Right. They
made it not need that. And John McCain's thumb pushing down, pointing down, made that lose.
Yeah. Yep.
Skinny repeal.
That close. It came, and they've been after it ever since. They've been doing everything. That's why
all white men on the committee that wrote skinny repeal.
Yeah. And that's why
Mitch McConnell and a bunch of white Republicans wrote skinny repeal. Yeah.
And the Affordable Care Act still exists, but the reason you're working now is because they succeeded, Republicans succeeded in gutting the AC enough so that our health care bill, which is already very high, quadrupled.
Yeah.
Over the course of a month. It just went, and it's unaffordably high.
And thanks to some of you being very generous, I was able to pay that in January.
Right.
And then I went to work.
Yeah.
And what is so crazy, folks, is that what I am paying out of my paycheck now for health insurance is what I was paying last year with the subsidies.
Yep.
With the expanded subsidies. It's the same.
Yep.
Only I have to work a 40-hour. I have to work 8 to 5 days a week to get that.
And you're doing it.
And I'm doing it. I'm not afraid to work. That's not. No. I'm not bitching about working.
No,
that's
neither
not
of us.
it.
Both of us have been working at various jobs our whole lives. It might have been being a full-time mom.
I'm not saying somebody doesn't, owes me free health care or anything like that. I paid for it last year.
Mm-hmm. But the point
I worked for Crooks and Liars, and I paid for my own health insurance, and now I'm going to pay for it out of my paycheck. But I can't afford $2,600 a month.
And this is not just us. This isn't personal. This is going after millions of people.
Lots and lots of people.
Millions and millions of people, many of whom are in red states or in red areas.
And many people who took advantage of that expanded subsidy that Biden put out to take care of elderly parents.
Yes. Yeah.
Take care of spouses with cancer, to deal with having cancer themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are, in fact, I know there are, I interacted with one on Reddit who said, well, the federal government shouldn't be paying you to retire early. It's like, are you kidding me? Yeah. A lot of 60-year-olds did retire early because they had the ability to buy health insurance with a subsidy and started a business.
That was the plan. That was part of the Obama promise, which was it'll be affordable enough and portable enough that you can start your own. You don't have to stick in a job that you hate just for the insurance.
And you can tell because I'm still paying what I paid with the subsidy. Mm-hmm. It just evened the playing field between people who had a full-time job and people who were starting a business or working out some other way. And you could buy it and pay the same price that a big corporation can pay for health insurance for you.
Exactly. And that's
what it is. Yeah.
The knock-on effect is going to close rural hospitals, and already has.
Yeah, it already
has. It's going to drive and it's turning us back into what we were before Obamacare, which is a bunch of uninsured people. Except this has been the Republican project.
Yeah.
all along. This is not something Donald Trump just invented.
No.
Republicans have been trying to destroy the Affordable Care Act and take it down completely since before it passed.
Mm-hmm.
And every time they're confronted with, what the fuck is your problem? Don't you understand how bad this is? Out come the lies. Well, we want to fix it. We have a better plan. They never do. They never have. They never will. Donald Trump's always got a plan that's going to be coming down the pike in 2 weeks. It's been 10 years now.
He's bored by it now. He just wants to release one page and say, do this.
Here's the framework. Go do it. Go do it. Make it happen. I want to sit here with the gold bar that I was given and all of the free money that I'm getting from Arab spies who are buying my companies.
Suing the IRS and then deciding how much the IRS is going to give me because my tax returns are public.
Yeah.
Because I have a right to be unlike every other president in history and keep my pet tax returns secret.
And remember, 77 million of your neighbors, of your colleagues, of your churchgoers, this is what they voted for. This is what they chose. Yep. And speaking of which,
we are going to need the kind of strength and undaunted determination of Minneapolis and Matt, because this is what we're all up against. This is from over the weekend, and I apologize for having to read a Donald Trump message.
Well, at least
this one is important.
We don't play the audio. We try not to play the audio of him because it makes me physically ill. But
I'm going to read this. Mm-hmm. And this is quoting the Dementor in chief. I am going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate. And by the way, I'm leaving off the unnecessary quotation marks in this and all caps and ridiculous punctuation. And I'm not reading this in Donald Trump's voice because I can't.
But visually, the all caps hysteria has got like a curve to it. It starts off a few here and there, and the last two paragraphs are just all caps screaming at the top of his crazy fascist lungs. Yeah.
Highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial, say that word again, voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election. There was a comma there. Who lost, comma, the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. That's a lie. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. A lie. I don't have to keep saying that, do I? This is all a lie. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. That's false. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do. That's not true. With their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender and woke for everyone, and so much more, Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. That's a lot of projection in that sentence, I got to say.
And the rest of this is all caps. Everything is all caps.
Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots voting, and everybody, in particular the Democrats, knows this. I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax, using voting machines that are a complete and total disaster, must end now. Remember, without fair and honest elections and strong and powerful borders, you don't even have a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. 3 exclamation points. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, unquote.
Yeah. So he's coming for the elections, which shouldn't surprise. Well, that might surprise David French.
I never thought this would come. It would come to this.
Oh my God. Yeah, I never thought that would happen, but that's what's happening. And we'll, on our next episode in a couple of days, we'll talk about that in greater depth. But on the other hand, on our side, on the side of the angels, we don't just have activists like Matt and the heroes of Minnesota. We have judges like Fred Beery, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a United States district judge for the Western District of Texas. He's the judge who ordered the release of Liam Ramos and his father, and he wrote a scathing opinion targeting the Trump administration. Here are some excerpts, and listen carefully for the list of grievances from the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States.
And we're all well aware that Thomas Jefferson was a slaveholder. I get that. Yes.
We're aware of that. But we know from what sources he is pulling his references, which no one on the right apparently does. Quote, the case has its genesis in the ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of a daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children. Apparently also is the government's ignorance of an American historical document called the Declaration of Independence.
Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of it? I got 3 copies. I literally have 3 copies of the little books right here. I'll mail them to you right now. 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson enumerated grievances against a would-be authoritarian king over our nascent nation. Among others were 1, he has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. Check. 2, he has excited domestic insurrection among us. Check. 3, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. Definitely. And 4, he has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Definitely. We, the people, are hearing echoes of that history. And then there is that pesky inconvenience called the Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by an oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and persons or things to be seized. Civics lessons to the government. Administrative warrants issued by the executive branch to itself do not pass probable cause muster.
Oh gosh, somebody ought to tell John Yoo that.
Yeah, you can't write a note excusing your own behavior. Right. It doesn't work that way.
Which is what they did. We're allowed to go door to door. It says so in a memo I just wrote.
It says it right here. That is called the fox guarding the hen house. The Constitution requires an independent judicial officer. Observing human behavior Yeah, I know. Constitution.
Sorry. My prediction is Pam Bondi will be resigning in December or November, right after the midterms, if the world doesn't explode and Democrats do as well as they did in a Texas state Senate race this week.
Yeah. Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of it? She and a lot of these other vultures are going to skip town.
Yeah.
And disappear.
Yeah.
With a lot of money.
Yeah. They're gonna do a Bongino is what we call it now.
Gotta go.
I'm closing out the judge's document. Observing human behavior confirms that for some among us, the perfidious lust for unbridled power, and by the way, big ups for that sentence.
Yeah.
The perfidious lust for unbridled power and the imposition of cruelty in its quest knows no bounds and are bereft of human decency, and the rule of law be damned. Philadelphia, September 17th, 1787. Well, Dr. Franklin, what do we have? A republic, if you can keep it. With a judicial finger in the constitutional dike, it is so ordered, all caps, unquote.
That's a little scary, that ending.
Yeah.
Because he knows what he's up against.
Yes, he does. And people who, this is why, part of the reason why I understand why, I think I understand why Barack Obama is so low profile in this shit.
Yep.
Because as I believe President Bartlett said in a different context on the West Wing, Blue Gal, I'd squeeze in a West Wing quote, I'm a human starting gun.
Yep.
I open my mouth and suddenly everyone on the right is galvanized again because the Kenyan usurper is trying to destroy us and take our guns.
Right.
On the other hand, he's a fucking constitutional scholar and professor. He knows he can speak with great authority and eloquence on this subject. And it's a great loss to us that he hasn't found a way to do that. So I'm of two minds on this. One, I would love for a president who is also a constitutional lawyer and professor to speak out on what the hell's going on in this country. On the other hand, I am aware that all he might be able to do is, as I said, galvanize all the bad people who are having second thoughts at this point. Many of them are like, Jesus Christ. If you saw that SNL sketch over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. With a mom.
Republican mom, I think.
I'm beginning to feel.
Yes. Trump might be bad for the country.
Yeah.
We're not going to be giving those people lifeboats.
No.
We're not going to be giving those people any grace.
Nope.
But we are going to observe wherever we can with great interest people who have been absolutely tattooed on their ass, I'm Donald Trump's bitch cult members, starting to come to the conclusion that maybe something is wrong here. And wouldn't it be nice?
And I'm going to say something, Driftglass. You said we're not going to give them grace.
I'm not.
I'm willing to give them actual grace. I'm not willing to give them cheap grace.
Yeah, there you go. That's my girl right there.
If they if they are on their knees praying to God for forgiveness and going to stay quiet for the rest of their lives to try to atone for what they did to this country, if they're going to quit their podcasts,
well, you put your finger right in the right place. Yeah. Atonement, making amends.
Yeah.
Saying I'm sorry, I was wrong. Yeah. This is what has driven me nuts since the beginning. It's this allergy that these smug asshole Republicans who have been swaggering around most of my entire adult life, who got everything wrong, can't fucking admit they got it wrong. Because the only way they can do is
Fonzie.
Well, the best they can do is we all got it wrong. Everyone got it wrong. No one saw this coming. It wasn't just me and my ideology and my blindness, my unwilling to listen to other voices and see what was in front of me because I was part of it. I was complicit. Yeah. It's everybody got it wrong. We have to do better next time. No, we don't. We're doing fine over here on the left.
Yep.
It's you all that fucked up. And if you would like to do what, as you said, we've always said, if you come as truly contrite, full of apologies, and get to the back of the fucking line instead of telling me how to run my party, I will take your shoulder on the wheel, but you do not get to steer the boat, period.
Right.
Now, I'm mixing a metaphor, so I apologize.
No, right. That's it. All right, we'll get to some other allies next time, including our good friend's political gravity, Trump's plummeting poll numbers, and pesky reality. Also, Trump this weekend said he wanted housing prices to stay high.
Yeah.
He just said goodbye to every voter under 35. We'll also unpack one of the most tired cliches in politics to show how the media killed it without ever noticing. So stay tuned for that. Until then, continue to feel free to write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service, go Postal Unions, letter on the air unless you say otherwise. We've got a minute here, Driftglass. I also want to remind people that if you want to support us with a check, which some people want to do that, please make it out to The Professional Left. We have a bank account.
We do.
In that name. Don't make it out to Driftglass and Blue Gal. No. Make it out to The Professional Left so we can deposit it and spend it on our utility bills. Thank you.
And I would like to give you grace if you're a person like that, because I, too, am a check writer.
He's a check writer.
I'm an old school
check writer.
Writer, paper, keeping track of my checking account on the back, the the ledger in the back.
Yes, he does.
Checks,
balances it every month.
And I do because that's what I do. I realize there are better ways to do it. There are quicker, more efficient ways. I use lots of technology to make my life easier.
That Lowe's credit card gets paid off every month with a check.
Every month with a check. They even say, are you sure? They're practically begging me, please don't send us a check. You're like the one guy who sends a check, and we have to keep this office open just for you.
I think there's a few Lowe's credit card holders
I'm sure that
write a check. They should be grateful you don't write it with the carpenter's pencil.
Yeah. Well, I'll get a nice carpenter's pen with a nice thin tip. Speaking of which, I should probably go to Lowe's right now and see what they got in stock.
We said the magic word.
I gotta go get some lumber. And we do want to remind you.
We've got other things to tell you. Driftglass will be on with Bob Seska tomorrow, and you're also going to do some sort of show on Thursday. Also,
I believe I'm
Nicole Sandler on Thursday.
I'll be on with Nicole Sandler on Thursday. Yeah, I got the call.
And while tomorrow's show won't be Bob's excellent Trek Politics with Mary Trump podcast, I think we can predict that Star Trek will be mentioned at least once with you and Bob. It's just you and Bob in the sausage factory over there.
I know. And I feel bad about that because in case you hadn't noticed over the 966 episodes, my wife is the smart one. So
I'll be answering phones in a cubicle. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll be up tonight with the briefing book, trying to come up to speed to make sure that I don't embarrass you on the Seska show.
Oh, you'll be doing a wonderful job.
Oh, I'm sure we always have a wonderful time there, and I'm hoping at some point in the future we can arrange to record later in the day so that Blue Gal can make a triumphant return. We also would like it if you would please share this show on social media. If you love this podcast, have it date one of your friends. They'll thank you for it, and thank you for doing that.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Do you mean the resident cartographers of the American feline soul, Blue Gal?
Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the loving, lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the whine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is produced and recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright DGBG Productions. ProLeftPod.com.